Hello everyone, this is Sunita. Welcome to my channel Test with Sunita. As part of day 4, we will discuss about the test scenario versus test case. So what is test scenario? Let me explain scenario clearly, then we go with test case. So test scenario is a high level description of what to test. Okay, in a software system, it represents a user action, a business process, a feature. So whatever the high level data that we write in test scenario, that means what to test in that particular system. That's what we will write in the test scenario. And if I ask you one question, what should I test? This is what I'll give you for the test scenario. Okay, and why do we write test scenarios? Actually, test scenarios are intended for first one, understand user behavior. So scenarios focus on how real users use the system. Example, user buys a product from an e-commerce site. Okay, so that is one scenario. Then coverage quickly. So coverage quickly in the sense one good scenario covers multiple test cases. So test cases is part of test scenario. So one test scenario may have multiple test sets, multiple test steps. So if we have a good test scenario, it would be having many test steps in it. Okay, next, time saving. So for this test scenario, we don't need any huge documentation, so we can save time here. And align with business goals. Actually most scenarios reflect business process, so it is mainly focusing on business goals. Process in the sense, I'll tell you, login, payment, order, refund, so everything is like business goal. Okay, so if you think in a test scenario style, imagine what a normal user does on an app. This is what the test scenario is. Suppose if normal user, what normal user usually does in an app, so he opens the app, logins the app, search for the product and adds to the cart, then he do the payment and track the order. Each of these becomes a test scenario. Okay, I'll tell you one more example. Suppose login, verify user login successfully with valid credentials. This is a test scenario. This means UI elements, backend authentication, redirection to dashboard, user session, but we don't mention steps or data, but this is high level of test scenario. Suppose if you come to another example, e-commerce cart. Test scenario, verify user can add products to the shopping cart or not. So this covers add button working fine, cart icon updates, cart persist after refresh, quantity update, database carts update. Okay, so here still we know, not giving any detailed steps, we are just giving the high level overview. And one more example, forget password. What is the test scenario for this forget password? Verify user can reset the password using registered email or not. This includes forget password link, OTP or link to follow, or next one, validation, password policy, confirmation message. These are all at high level. Okay, so simply we can say that test scenario is a user story. If you treat the system like a real customer, okay, this is a user story. Okay, as a user, I should be able to place an order successfully. That one line becomes the test scenario. Okay, so I'll tell you one rule here. One test scenario is equal to one user purpose. Okay, then how these test scenarios turn into test cases. Okay, so test scenario, suppose take one test scenario, verify user can log in successfully. So test case is derived from it is login with valid credentials, login with invalid password, login with empty fields, login with special characters, login with logged user. So one scenario is having multiple detailed conditions. That's we call as test case. Okay, so if you go for an interview and they ask for test scenario, you can simply say that a test scenario is a high level description of what to test. It represents a user journey or business function without detailed steps. one scenario can generate multiple test cases. So this is all what about test scenarios. Okay, so where do we use this test scenario and test case in our testing life cycle? Yesterday we had the session, right? Test cases, STLC and SDLC. So STLC has overall testing scenario, right? Overall testing related journey, right? So if you see test planning, test case development, test environment setup, test execution. So here, from here to execution close, everything involves around with test scenario and test cases. Okay, so coming to the test case means it is a detailed step-by-step process or feature or functionality of an application. So it includes preconditions, inputting the data, steps to execute, expected result, post conditions. So these are all test case. Okay, so simply we can say that how should I test? This is what test case. Okay, test case is how should I test? So this is what the test cases. Why do we write test cases? So test cases, let me explain, let me show you the test case first, then we will go with test case, why do we write test cases and all. So I have written a simple test case for login feature. Okay, so user wants to log into a application. Here every test case is having specific conditions in the sense fields and the descriptions. So field, test case ID, test scenario or title, preconditions, test data, step number, test steps, and expected result, actual results, and status. These are the ideal fields that should be covered in a test case. So test case ID. So if you see login feature, this is a test scenario, and this test scenario has multiple, either it may have multiple test cases or multiple test steps. Okay, so I'm giving test case ID as tc underscore login underscore 001 to differentiate from one test case to another test case. So this is the test case checking login functionality, and the number I have given like 001. So test scenario, what is the test scenario for this? Login with valid username and password. This is one test scenario. And preconditions, what is the precondition for to test a login? It should exist with the UI, right? So user should have account in that application. So user account exists. Next, test data. So what the test data we need for to login? Username and password. So suppose username is Sunita and password is Sunita8123. So this is the test data I have. So test step number one. Step number one, as a first step, what we do? Open the login page. So user should able to redirect to the dashboard. This is what expected results. What is expected out of here? Once you log into the page and once you enter the valid username and password, what is expected? UI page should allow the user to enter username and password. Okay, so if you try to enter the username and password, it is not allowing you, then it is not what expected, right? So login, click on login. Once you have entered the username and password, click on login. User should be able to redirect to the home page. Okay, I mean into the login page. So actual result in the sense post the execution, whatever you see there, that you fill up here. Open login page, what is expected out of it? User should able to redirect to the dashboard. If you are not able to, once you open the page, you are not able to redirect to the dashboard, then you can make that expected results and actual results are not matching, so the status of this is fail. And once you enter the valid username and password, user expected is user should able to allowed to give the username and password. If it is not allowing you to give the username and password, actual result, that is actual result. After the execution, what you see in that page, that is a actual result. If expected results and actual results are not matching, then it is fail. If expected results and actual results are matching, then it is pass. So the status can be given like this, either pass or fail. Okay, so I have another scenarios given here. You just try to write the test cases for this. One test scenario is login with incorrect password. So first one is login with correct username and password, and second scenario is login with incorrect password, negative scenario. Try to write down the test cases for this and give it in the comment. I'll just check and verify. If you need any additional support, you can just ping me. And next is payment test case. So this is also another feature. You just try to write down the test cases for these two. Okay, so this is what the test case is. Okay, next. Okay, so why do we need test case? Actually we said, right, test scenarios are needed for these conditions. And why do we write the test cases is written for consistency. So consistency in the sense, any tester can execute and get the same result. So if I have written this test case, by seeing this, the other people, the person B can also run the test case. So a tester can execute, any tester can execute and get the same result. Next, full coverage. Full coverage in the sense, test cases ensure every condition and every validation or every rule is checked or not. Okay, and traceability. Traceability in the sense, you can link test cases to the requirements. So we call this as RTM actually. So every test case is mapped to that, linked to that requirements or not. This is what the traceability can be given in the test cases. And regression testing. So regression testing steps can be repeated for every build, okay, without missing anything. So here test case, we write the test cases for regression testing. We write the test cases for to check the traceability. We write the test cases for the full coverage. We write the test cases for the consistency. So once you have written the test cases that can be executed by any person, that is consistency, and that test cases will give the full coverage, and that is given for the traceability, and that is a part of regression testing. Okay, so this is why we write the test cases. So simply we can tell anatomy of a good test case is, a good test case usually contains test case ID, test scenario, preconditions, test steps, test data, expected result, actual result, status. Okay, if you can add another column as well, comments or attachments. If you want to attach anything to particular test case, you can attach the attach to your results as well. So you can have another column like comments or attachments, something like comments or attachments. Okay, so simply I can say how test case differs from the test scenario. Test scenario is high level idea of what to test. Okay, test case is detailed instructions. If you take one example, verify login works with valid credentials. This is a test scenario. What is test case for this? Click here, type this, expected this, actual this. These are all detailed instructions or test case. Okay, and what makes a test case strong? Test case can a simple but detailed. Test case should be a simple but detailed, easy to understand, realistic input data, and clear expected outcome, and covers both positive and negative flows, and it is repeatable, just like we call it as regression testing. Okay, so interview friendly questions. What is test case? Test case is detailed document that describes how to verify a specific feature. It includes preconditions, test inputs, steps, and expected results. So one test scenario can predict multiple test cases. Okay, so this is overall about test case and the test scenario. Okay, I hope you got some points out of this class. Every class will make you a stronger tester. Practice, stay curious, and do not hesitate to post your questions in the comments, and suggest any additional topics you would like me to cover in this next sessions. I'm here to help you. See you in the next session. This is Sunita and you are learning with Test with Sunita. I have added the next lesson link on the screen at the end of this video. Continue your learning from there. Thank you.